Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are going to attempt to stay within the white lines and not get any track limits penalties on this episode of the 1 hour, one brain cell podcast. Lights out and away we go. Thanks to everybody who was checking us out this week on our last episode, the Julian Baker episode. Got some nice, solid views on that. Thanks to those of you who were commenting on the show. Good luck with your trying to get tickets. Hopefully, you're able to snag them. And yeah, we appreciate the Julian Baker folks for finding us.
I have nothing to add. Please continue.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay,
Awkward silence
sweet.
to start the show
No,
already.
you said it. You said it. That was perfect. I have nothing to add. Proceed.
I am joined by my co-host Jordan, who beat me by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 seconds. And
which race was this?
I'm pretty sure it was 40. You beat me by 40 seconds in the which race was this? True. You beat me by 40 seconds at Silverstone, I think, right?
Okay, but we've talked on this show before about how unfair it is to let me race Silverstone. And especially on the difficulty that we're on, which is trying to be nicely competitive, but not a total disaster for both of us.
Yes.
Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. I should have to start from the pit lane every time I race Silverstone to make it fair. It was good though. We've been having a really good day. And I'm joined by my teammate in, he's maybe not first in the drivers. He might be first in the Destructors Championship, but he's first place in our hearts, Richie Flores.
Thank you very much. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? We're making it. We're making it up. We're making it up. We're doing well. We'll explain a little bit later in the show once we get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But couple things to talk about this week. We'll get to Formula One in a little bit. We have lots to discuss considering the Austria GP chaos ensued, and so we'll get to that a little bit later. But I want to begin with the first thing on our notes here, which is the Great Bloomington Power Outage of 2024. Unfortunately for our friend Jordan here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you'll notice, we have this really cool thing happening right now, which is electricity. But my life looked something like this most of the day, much darker at night, by the way, for about, I think the estimate was about 20 hours that I came up with. Listen, I did not take this very seriously because, you get a severe thunderstorm warning like pretty frequently. Like it's summer, it's monsoon season, it's storm season, like it happens. So, we got a little thunderstorm warning and I wasn't thinking anything of it. I was playing F1 out in the front room. So I had my headset on and it's next to that big window that I have in my apartment. And I heard something kind of weird and I took my headphones off and it just sounded like it was raining really hard. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever, put them back on, resumed my business, finished the race. And then, turned my PlayStation off, went to the kitchen to try and cook something, try and put something in the toaster. And I put it in the toaster. It was like a Pop-Tart. And I put it in there. And I set it for the time and, adjusted the dial so it doesn't burn to a crisp. Went about my business and then saw it pop up. And I went to go grab it and it was still half cold when I went to grab it. I was like, oh, that's weird. So I flipped it over and then, tried to push the lever back down and the lever wouldn't go down. I was like, wait a minute. Looked at my oven, the clock is off, looked at my microwave, the clock is off. I'm like, oh, the power's out. I didn't notice because it was daytime, so there's still plenty of light. It wasn't like it went pitch black instantly. So I didn't really notice. I was like, oh, the power's out. It happens sometimes if there's really big storms and there's a lot of wind and stuff. I was like, it'll be back in, a couple minutes, maybe like at most an hour, probably. 20 hours later. So it was crazy when it still wasn't back because I didn't have a grasp on how much damage there was or how like impactful it was. And I started going on, social media as you do. And I was just, searching Bloomington on Twitter, or, on the subreddit or whatever, and just trying to see what was happening. And people were posting these insane pictures of wind damage. They said the local airport registered like a 78-mile-an-hour wind gust. And I think 75 is like a category 1 hurricane. So it was insane, and it was enough to just decimate all of the infrastructure. So I was driving like the next day. I went to go to work the next day because there's power on at work, which was great because it meant that I got to take everything that I owned that was like mostly dead, and charge it all at work. So I went to go and just driving through town. Like if you've ever wondered what it would be like to drive in, I don't know, The Walking Dead, The Last of Us, like any of those movies that are just so post-apocalyptic, but like the day that it happens, right, and people are trying to leave town, it was exactly like that. It was dark first thing in the morning. It's like there are no streetlights. There are no traffic lights. They don't work. So you have to treat everything like a four-way stop, and you realize really quickly who actually paid attention during their driver's exam and who didn't know. The gas stations, there's no power at the gas station, so you can't get gas. Even if you needed it, you can't get it. And people are, the small businesses and stuff, like obviously all the power went out and all the refrigeration went out. So you saw people like at the convenience stores that were just trying to drag as much perishable product outside as possible and stuff it in like the big industrial like ice chest like outside just to pray that it stayed cold long enough because nobody knew when power was going to be back. There were trees fallen on the power lines and downed power lines and down power poles. There's a whole building that collapsed close to where I lived that just, it was like a barn and it just flattened. And I'd never seen anything like that. And at that point you realize you're like, this is not going to be a couple hour thing. Like we're really going to be stuck like this. And thankfully it was, there were still people toward the tail end of this week that didn't have power. But where I was at, they did a really good job of trying to get out there quickly and get it fixed. And, thank a lineman if you see them, because they are doing the job nobody wants to do. And I think now everybody's back, but there were like 45,000 people without power, for at least 20 hours and some extended up to a couple days.
That's wild.
It's a guide on how to camp in your own home. So if you've never thought about it, like get a battery powered fan, make sure that you have, rations of bottled water for a couple of days, dry goods for a couple of days that don't require a stove or a microwave or anything like that. And, even the grocery stores were really struggling. They had to throw out so much stuff. Somebody posted a picture of the dumpster out back of the Kroger, and it was just full of all the dairy products, and because you can't save it. It's just not good anymore. It was absolutely crazy.
Well, I'm glad we're back. We're back now and able to do the show. That was I don't know how you managed to survive for that long without power outside of your place of work.
It's easier here than it would be for you, because if it's like 110 outside and you lose power, that's literally
it's over.
Yeah, people will die from heat exposure, and I was thinking about that too. I'm like, there needs to be a better plan in place because what if you have insulin or medication that needs to be refrigerated, and a power outage happens? Like, what do you do? Where do you go? you could go to the hospital or the urgent care, but you're, relying on them having power and having capacity to be able to take you. And then we just start to overrun infrastructure. And it's such a strange kind of domino effect in that way that, just take it seriously when they're like, you should have a plan in place in case there's a natural disaster. Like, even if it's a storm, it wasn't a tornado, it wasn't a hurricane, it was just a really bad storm. And, look at where it got us. So
That's crazy. The good thing about Arizona, for the most part, is because a lot of the city has been really honestly built up over the last 30 years or so. Like everything, all the power lines for the most part are underground. And so, at least in my time and living in Arizona, I can't recall having that many power outages despite having really bad monsoon storms in the summer. And so it doesn't happen all that often. It maybe it does in some of the older neighborhoods during a really bad storm you'll hear of, but for the most part, especially in the summer during monsoon season, it doesn't happen all that often. If it does, people usually get their power restored fairly quickly. So
also kind of a miracle that they put power lines underground in Arizona, because I had many years where I had to help put up the Halloween and Christmas decorations, and like you try and put those stakes in the yard for stuff. They just don't go in the ground because the ground is so dang hard.
yeah.
I'm like, I would not want to dig up a length of industrial power cable and try and bury it. Like, my goodness gracious. No, thank you. No. Nope.
So yeah, Jordan has survived the Great Power Outage of Bloomington 2024. Living out. What did you eat to survive? What did you? Was it just like peanut butter and jelly?
Well, not jelly, because it has to typically be refrigerated. Yeah, I had some. That's a thing you don't think about. No, I had peanut butter sandwiches because I had some bread. Let me think. I had some dry goods stuff that was like, it was dumb, like crackers and snack mix, but I'm like, I was rifling through my cabinet and I was like, I have all this
I left there.
Like, yeah, you could. I had a Pop-Tart. It was kind of stale, but I had one. Yeah, because you don't need to put it in the toaster. I was like gonna be at a point where I was gonna have to Google, like, what do you have to toast, such and such in order to, make it edible. Like, we were approaching that point. It wasn't probably healthy or nutritious, but it was enough. And then stuff over on the side by my work, so over by the major like mall center, all of that power was on. And people said like that's the busiest they've seen that place, because like all those businesses were open. I didn't want to drive to go to it because it was so kind of like apocalyptic and take your life into your hands driving, especially the first day when there were trees and branches all over the road. But even that second day, it was like I went to Chipotle. I ordered ahead Chipotle and ended up not needing it because my power came back on shortly after that. But all those businesses were open, so they at least got some really good patronage there. I think you sent me that the Chick-fil-A in town hit their daily average profit by like 2:30 p.m. And I think they open at, I don't know, they're open for breakfast, but it was crazy. There were just lines and lines, and people going to stores to like buy new clothes. Like, I've never seen that many people at the Dick's Sporting Goods, but it was like, I can't do my laundry because I don't have any power. So I'm like, I need to buy a couple t-shirts or pairs of socks or something to, get through the next couple of days. It was wild. It was so wild.
I'm glad we avoided the zombie apocalypse. No aliens invaded. It wasn't like the War of the Worlds going on. So we did it. We made it through with the power of friendship.
Yeah. No, the power of friendship, not the power of electricity. Yeah.
Correct. All right. Well, let's dive into it now that we've delayed long enough. We are recording on Sunday, hours after the end of the Austrian Grand Prix. for yet another edition of Formula One Hour Formula One Brain Cell. Into the second week of our 3-week European extravaganza in Formula One, back to back to back weeks, and it was a sleepy race for the first little while, the last first 50 or so laps, and then it got really exciting, and it was peak Formula One at its best with all the drama going on.
Yep.
Twitter is a Tinder. People are fighting on the internet. They're either Team Lando or Team Max, or they're just in it for the hell of it and for the fun and for the
They're just in it to
for the
stoke the
drama.
flames and
Just for the
see what
drama.
happens. Yeah.
Yes, they're just in it for the
Yep.
drama. So we had Max was winning most of the race. Comes in for the final stop. Has a slower stop, about 3 seconds slower than normal. Red Bull is the best on pit lane. Their stops are usually insane. Just for whatever reason, didn't go right here. And so
I don't
coming
think
out
they
of this,
could get the rear left tire off. I think that was the issue.
And so the gap closed a little bit. It was about 6.5 seconds or so, and it closed down to about 3 seconds to Lando. And then Lando ended up catching Max. And it was a hell of a battle for a solid, I don't know, 10 laps or so between the two, back and forth. Really good hard racing between the two of them. Some track limits galore for not Max, for Lando. And then it was the wrecker around the world that caused George Russell to go through to win his second career Grand Prix. And it was wild, and the people were very angry. You are wearing your Red Bull team shirt. So how did you see the battle between Max and Lando playing out?
I've had a couple hours to cool off from it and be a more objective observer. And I think part of our perspective collectively is because we just played this track last night on F123, so we're very fresh with this track and how it is. I'll say, and I've been talking to some other people that have different allegiances, and even among some of the Red Bull fans, it's like it was kind of everybody's fault a little bit. Now it felt like over the last couple of races, especially, this felt like something we had been building to. Like it was inevitably going to come to contact. And I think I texted you this earlier that I was like, I'm just so afraid that there's going to be contact when they keep racing like this. And sure enough, that ended up happening. Both drivers ended up with a puncture. Lando had to retire. You could say that Max is at fault. He took kind of a strange line through that turn. It wasn't overly aggressive or overly defensive or out of line necessarily, but he didn't really cut the corner, cut the apex super well. So kind of swung out wide. Lando had been trying to dive bomb and just make a late lunge through the corner for a couple of laps, and eventually they contacted one another doing so. And I don't want to say that it could have been avoided if the stewards had been a little more, had handed down their decision a little quicker about the track limits, because Norris had 2, picked up a 3rd strike. So he had been given a black and white flag, and it was known that he had the black and white flag. So any further leaving the track would be a penalty. And on one of these attempted overtakes on Max, he went off the track and then rejoined, and then had to hand the place back to Max as well, because it was an overtake. It was leaving the track, rejoining, and gaining a competitive advantage. So he had to hand the place back. And they had noted it, they were investigating it, but it was like another 2 or 3 laps before we even got a verdict on it, and it was after they had already collided with one another. So maybe it would have changed the game if we had known at that point in time that Lando had a 5-second penalty. Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything though, because sure, 5 seconds is kind of a lot, but if he makes that overtake cleanly and gets ahead in the race, and maybe Max hits traffic on the back markers, you could make up 5 or 6 seconds crossing the finish line and negate that penalty. So, who knows, right? I think both drivers just needed to be more careful in the way that they handle that. It was kind of everybody's fault. It was the stewards for not handing down the ruling, Lando's for being a little impatient on the overtake, Max's for taking a weird line and, colliding with him. Both teams kind of needed to be in their guys' ears saying like, hey, chill out, calm down. If you, just race cleanly, you can finish 1-2. And instead, both of them kind of had their whole strategy derailed. So it was still a 3 of 4 wins, or 3 of 4 impressive sessions for Max and for Red Bull. So I can't, be too disappointed about it. He didn't get his Grand Slam. He didn't get his Denny's Grand Slam, but I can't be too disappointed about it, except for the fact that I fear we are coming to Max versus Lewis, the reincarnation. And I'd rather that not happen.
I can see that. Absolutely. So I think you got it pretty much on the head there. I'm going to add some more racing context, I think.
Please do.
So,
Please do.
Yeah. So obviously I watch a lot of racing. I watch a lot of different types of racing across the motorsports landscape, right? NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, right? And there's always been this kind of back and forth between the drivers handling things themselves on the racetrack and the sanctioning body sanctioning what happens on the track and giving people penalties, et cetera, et cetera. Years and years ago, NASCAR had a similar problem with this where they were a little bit too hands-on. This was probably in the early 2000s, right? Right around the early time when Jimmy Johnson started winning championships. And it was to the point where kind of like things maybe had gone a little stale and they were trying to kind of reignite some excitement into the sport. And so they adopted this idea, and then what they called it is, and this is straight from NASCAR, I believe at the time, they were like, boys, have at it. And that was legit what they called it. And they basically their doctrine was just like, let them handle things on the track, or we're not going to impede anybody. And for the most part, I honestly believe they still do that. They don't really, there's several weeks ago, there was in a NASCAR race, there was 2 guys going, nose to nose, and they ended up crashing out, and they were the first and second in the race, and the guy who was in third ended up coming through. I think ended up winning the race. And NASCAR didn't do anything about it. It was just hard racing. And I honestly think for the most part, that's what this was too. And the Formula One stewards were in between a rock and a hard place in a way. It's either they control the race and they take it out of the driver's hands and fans are mad, or they do what they did today and they let the drivers handle it, and it's hard racing and 2 race cars are wrecked because of it. And so the stewards can't really do much about it because it's a lose-lose situation for them. But I think it's a win-win situation for us as fans, because that's to me what happened. I think you were right in that for the most part, it wasn't really anybody's fault in that particular situation. I think both guys were just racing really, really hard. And a lot of it, honestly, is how the race cars are built. They're not built for contact. And to be honest, they didn't really contact that hard to where those cars should have just fallen apart like they did. Right. And that goes into, hopefully maybe they'll fix that in the future in these new 2026 regulations. But that's what that was. That was good, hard racing by both guys. Max was defending like hell. Lando was overdriving the car quite a bit to get those track limits penalties. And as I was describing to you kind of a little bit, which is like Lando just got impatient. If he was smarter and he was the world champion in that perspective, if he just waited a couple more laps, he was faster. He was faster than Max that entire final stint. And Max was on the radio constantly like, dude, I can't, this thing's crap. I can't, this race car's, it's not working for me on this final stint on those tires for whatever reason. Yeah. Lando had him dead to rights. And I think Lando just got too impatient. and he tried to send it into a gap that was so minuscule. He had to be perfect. And for the most part he was. And then by the time he tried to make that move, the gap was closed and the race was over for both of them. And I think that's what happened in that situation, unfortunately. And it ended poorly for everybody involved. And I'm sure as we move into Silverstone, it's going to get even crazier. After the race, Lando and Max both talked to Sky Sports, and Lando is like, "Listen, Max needs to take responsibility, or I don't remember exact quote, but or
He
our
was like,
friendship is."
I'm gonna lose respect, or I'm gonna be
Yeah,
disappointed or
exactly,
something. Like, yeah.
exactly. Mhm. And then after the Max after the race was basically saying, he was basically defending himself, saying, "Listen, this is just how I drive," and he's basically saying, "I wasn't under braking while I was moving." And he's basically like, "Listen, you guys don't know this because you're not in the car. I'm in the car. I know what I'm talking about." That's basically what he said, which I thought was great. This would all be debunked and whatnot if we were able to see the telemetry. I don't know if we're able to see the telemetry or not.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
To see, because you would be able to tell pretty easily what was going on inside the race car. But I don't know if they're ever going to release that, or if Sky Sports is going to do that next week or something. That'd be really interesting to see. Yeah, it was exciting. Like as a neutral observer, I will say that. As a generally Lewis Hamilton fan, for the most part, I enjoyed it. It was good, hard racing. Lando's kind of rubbed me the wrong way over the last few weeks in the way he's been handling himself. He's gotten a little bit too cocky, I think, to both of our liking. And so I was wanting Max to pull that out because of Lando's attitude hasn't been super great the last few weeks, as he's finally gotten some pace in his car. And the McLarens are seemingly neck and neck with the Red Bulls. And so I was hoping Max would pull it out. But instead, it was George Russell, which good for him, I guess. Cool. I was hoping it was going to be Oscar, or even Carlos Sainz or Lewis Hamilton. That would have been cool, but George.
That's like the
As you know.
second week in a row that we've seen George Russell benefit from Lando and Max fist fighting each other on track. Because last week was when he swung around both of them into turn one. I don't know. Yeah, like he's got a little habit of overdriving the car, does Norris. Putting some extra tire wear on, putting some extra, track limit, whatever it may be, but I don't know. And it's still not quite resolved because Lando never took his 5-second penalty that he was given because he just retired the car. So
I think he did. I saw someone saying that he did.
Okay. I was like, I don't know if anything is going to carry over to next week or whether they counted it, even though he limped into the pits, and I don't know. We'll see.
I did see somebody else say that he could have been disqualified because he was basically driving an unsafe race car around the track.
Right. They tagged Checo for that with his rear wing. But yeah, I mean, you look at that tire, it was flapping in the wind. He was driving on the rim, throwing pieces everywhere. But
yeah,
of course, right? Of course.
Nothing likely to come of it, but Silverstone is gonna be spicy, baby. Oh yes,
it might, especially because it's Lando's home race, as well as a few other of the British contingent. But hey, we did get something really great today.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Are you ready?
I'm ready. You ready? Let's go.
I'm double ready. Here we go.
We're double ready.
2, 3. Haas in
bio. Times two. That was a great drive. There was a little teamwork happening there at some points. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was giving us flashbacks to our own gameplay from yesterday.
Yes, it was. I looked it up. That was Haas finished 6th in the race. Nico finished 6th.
7th.
And
6 and 8th or 7 and 8.
6 and 8.
Yeah.
6 and 8th. And that was Haas's best finish since 2022, when they got a 5th place at Austria, actually, I believe. Do you know the last Haas driver to finish that high? Who do you think finished 5th I'm gonna double check. I'm pretty sure it was Austria in 2022. Let's see. Oh wait, maybe I'm wrong. Hang on. Stand by. Hang on. Oh, sixth. Yes, he finished sixth in Austria in 2022.
Yeah. I'm cycling through the driver lineup. I don't think it was. No. It wasn't Mick Schumacher, was it?
It was Mick Schumacher. He finished sixth in Austria in 2022. That was Austria, great track for Haas because Mick finished sixth, K-Mag finished eighth in that race.
Good guess. Mick's short-lived stint at Haas, but that's okay.
Exactly. So that was a great drive by both of them. Some great radio from K-Mag where the team was asking him to save on tires. It was like, is Nico doing that too? And like, yeah. And K-Mag was basically told him to screw off, and he wasn't gonna.
It's like, shove off, F that. And he was like, is Nico managing too? And they said both cars need to manage. And he was like, F that.
Oh, real quick before we continue on, I want to play this. This is one of our favorite F1 like recap. They make cartoons for every race, and this was their.
Oh, is this Lollipop Man?
This was their recap of the end of the race for the Austrian GP.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
George, aha! Safe power of the Mercedes. Russell Air, the quickest way to P1. Look now, fly noisily.
That's insane. Yeah.
I
love that. I always tune in for those recaps.
Shout out to them because they got that up within like 2 hours of the ending of the race.
Crazy. And they like do all the voices too, and some of them are so good. Yeah.
I love they do a good job with the Max voice is hilarious.
The Max voice is funny, yeah. Lewis is usually pretty funny. They just make him say man after everything.
It's true.
I don't know, man.
Lewis finished P4, I believe, today. He was mad after the race. He was like, man, he was like, man, I drove like crap because he finished like 16 seconds back of the lead
well,
car.
It was his penalty though.
Yeah.
It was his penalty. It would have been a lot closer, but they ruled that he crossed the white line on pit exit, which is true, but they don't really give you any grace of how you do it. So whether you're trying to accelerate and cut the corner or whether you kind of have a little traction and you slip through like he did, then it doesn't matter. They rule that you have an advantage, so you instantly get a penalty for doing that.
All right, let's speaking of Haas, let's move on to our continuing Vatican Formula One team.
The country of the Vatican. Yeah.
Experience that is our co-op mode on Formula One or F123 with the Haas car. We're making a go at it. So much so, rather than tell you about it, how about we show you what happened? That's even better. Jordan put together a little edit of our happenings. During the first half of the season.
Yeah, if you're an audio listener, we might, and by we I mean me, we might cut this out and just teleport you ahead because it's going to be so strange to hear this happen but not be able to see it. So if you're listening, I'll post the whole thing on our YouTube, so just go look for it.
How did you save that?
What was that? Oh my god! There's nothing I could do.
Alright, I gotta pit again. While we're under the safety car, I can pit again.
Oh my god. I don't know if you have
know.
another front wing.
Oh my god! No!
No way! Oh,
Are you okay?
I hit the I am stupid corner.
Wait for the marshal.
No!
I quit. I don't want to do this anymore.
I am stupid. I am stupid.
Oh god, here it comes! Here it comes!
Break! Not a full stop, dummy. Oh my god. I'm
Oh,
scared to
God.
follow too close behind you because I know you'll do something stupid.
We're both in DRS, right?
Bro,
You're
pick a
with DRS, so-
side! Pick a lane!
I got you, you're good, you're good, you're good. You're clean.
Oh, well.
You're good, you're good, you're good, and stop. Don't worry, Captain, we'll buff out those scratches.
I don't know if you've ever spectated someone leaving the pit before, but you can see your eyes inside your helmet, and it's terrifying.
No. Oh, contact.
Yeah, he's touched my back end. Out of context. At least I didn't say rear end. Could have been worse.
Are you okay?
Just his car spitting black smoke out the back.
There's a new pope.
No way!
George just announced.
What an
I had too
iconic
much
edit.
fun. I had
Nice-
too much
nice
fun
work.
doing that. Thank you.
Nice work
Yeah.
with that. That was just a little taste of the ridiculous stuff going on.
I
our
promise
co-op
we've
mode.
actually done good stuff too. That was just all the silly stuff, but it was so much fun to try and find clips that went with it. But I didn't realize how well, one, my crash synced up with Leclerc's crash. It was like almost identical. But two, how well the like cartoon running sound lined up with you driving straight off the track at Australia. Because it was immediately like, as soon as you went straight through that corner. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I had so much fun making that.
Yeah, not my finest moment. I crashed a lot. Oof, it bad. I'm terrible. It was we had some bad races, just dumb.
Yeah, we
silly
both had a
mistakes.
really rough start on the season, but we've turned over a new leaf here at Haas F1 co-op because we had double 1-2s for max points yesterday in Austria and in Silverstone. So we've turned a new leaf.
We're coming back. Jordan is in the lead in the drivers' championship, and we are gaining on Mercedes and Red Bull for the constructors after some a really bad start to the season in which we DNF'd. At least I DNF'd like 3 times in the first 5 races. So
yeah, I had 1, if not 2. I don't remember, but it was I finished out of the points more than that. But I think I may have only had 1 real DNF, and it was the street circuit, the Saudi Arabia street circuit, where I had to spectate you the whole time. And honestly, it was fun to spectate you, but I like driving around more. I've discovered. Yeah.
Yes. Spectating me drive must be a thrill of an experience because I drive crazy. I'm a crazy.
It kind of gives me motion sickness, I will tell you, because Richie drives on a controller. Yeah, he drives on a controller, which is probably so hard. So props to you, because that is much harder than it sounds. But but he does a lot of little adjustments on the stick. And so if you're on board with him and you watch his like virtual driver's hands, they're just constantly doing this. And the car is just constantly doing this. And you're like, I need you to put this in a straight line or I'm going to throw up. Like, can I have one of those airplane? Can I have a barf bag? Because I can't watch you do this. It stresses me out.
Well, luckily we haven't had to do it lately with our 1-2 finishes in back-to-back races. 1-2 finish in the sprint at Austria as well. I do want to go back to that video again for two things. One is the battle we had at that was at Jeddah, right? The battle we had where you passed me.
Oh, yeah, where I went flying off. Yeah, that was.
So watching that again. I thought I gave you room. I did not. I should have backed off, and I didn't. I did not back down. I was racing hard there, and if I should have let off the throttle and let you go, and I didn't do that, and I was stupid. So
I could have had it too if I would have just taken a better line, but I tried to outbrake you because of where you were driving. I was like, the only way I'm gonna be able to do this is if I can swing it on him, and then I completely missed the corner. So it was almost Brosades, but it was at least both of our faults. But we've gotten a lot better because we had some clean racing at Austria, especially. In the sprint and the race. We didn't show those because those were actually good moments and not just stupid moments. So we have those saved for later. But yeah, we had some good overtakes into turns 1 and 3. Richie was defending really well the whole time. It was kind of a K-Mag masterclass. He's learned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put in the Haas and putting the K-Mag in the Haas co-op for sure. So again, I did win one race. I won the opening round.
That's true.
So I'm glad I won the one race. And that's
you did. You won.
I told you as we got into this experience, like I just wanted to win one damn race. I'd be happy, and I did. Won the first race of the season, and I've been terrible ever since. We'll see what comes up in the second half of the season. There are some tracks that I like a lot that I think I can contend on. That maybe you don't like as much. So
I know you're gonna get me a Coda. You're gonna get me a Coda for sure.
Coda's great. I love Coda. I think by then a lot of our R&D upgrades are gonna come through, and the car is gonna be better by then. And I'm gonna be. I cannot wait to drive. I love driving Coda. It's a lot of fun. It's hard, but it's great. It's a lot of fun. I love Coda. I was pretty good at Mexico City. I kind of learned to be better at that track. And then like Spa and Monza, I'm pretty good at those track too. But so we'll see. I think we can really make around the constructors if we keep piling up points and don't DNF anymore, for the love of goodness.
I think so too, but we're sort of in the Orange Army run on track now because we have like Belgium, the Netherlands. And we've got a few tracks coming up where I feel like the Red Bull are going to be pushing, and they tend to stack points on us. So we just gotta be on top of our game. But I like where we're at right now.
In a good position. We're only halfway through the season, or actually less than halfway through the season. So we got a lot of time to turn it around. All right. Some more things this week here. I'm calling this segment Richie's Scary Robot of the Week.
Okay.
So I'm just going to show this. I should have read the article and done the damn research on this, but that's boring, and I don't want to do that. So
that's too much preparation for this show. Yeah,
and you can react in real time to what you're seeing because I have not sent you this yet. I put in the doc. I don't think you clicked the link, right? Did you click the link?
Nope, okay, I haven't looked at either of those things that you've put in there. So
okay, here we go. So here we go. How about that? It looks like if you're a Doctor Who fan, it looks like the face of Bo from Doctor Who from many, many years ago. So I'm just going to play this video. Here we go. This is made from living cells placed on top of a 3D printed resin base. The skin is attached by ligament-inspired anchors, which give incredible strength and flexibility.
Oh.
Put this into a robotic face using moving rods to make it smile. Oh, what that from that? Lifelike robots with realistic expressions could help robots communicate with each other. We're getting an iRobot situation, aren't we? iRobot is going to happen. Oh, just play it again. We don't need to see it again.
I have two things to say about that, and I'm deciding which I want to say first. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And second, I realize that this is the culmination of a lot of years and scientific advancement and some people's life work. But if I were ever in a room alone with that thing, I would crush it into an unidentifiable number of pieces with a hammer. That's truly my first reaction to it, is that thing doesn't need to exist. I don't want the robots to be better at communicating with us. Take it back. Give it back. I don't want the artificial intelligence. I don't want the iRobot. Did you see the robot at the I think it was the NHL draft, or maybe it was the NBA draft?
No.
It was like announcing facts and things about the players, and like, you know, reading their names like as they, you know, came down the escalator. And I saw something like that on Twitter that was like, me and my buddies would literally smash this thing to death. Yeah, it's absolutely horrifying. Like, we talked a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, here it is. Okay, here. I'll bring up the video so y'all can see it.
You ever seen Ex Machina?
Yeah, great movie. Yeah.
We are so nearing Ex Machina, or like Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner in general.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Here's the
Terminator.
video of the robot. Yes, the robot introducing players at the NHL draft. It was held at the Sphere this year. So here we go.
This gives me the ick.
64 points in 38 games. He also led Team Canada in points at the 2024 World Junior Championship.
Poor kid,
Once
like, what is
again,
going on?
Macklin Celebrini.
Not only does this kid have to go play for the San Jose Sharks, but he's got to deal with that thing.
How do you keep a straight face while you're ascending this stupid escalator while this robot is introducing you? There's nothing about that is serious at all.
No, it's the most unserious thing known to man. And
Like,
also
like,
having
if
the
it was-
draft at the Sphere.
Yeah, if it was you or I doing that, going down an escalator with a robot telling some facts about us, we'd both be cackling. We wouldn't make it down the damn escalator without just falling over ourselves because we're having a laughing fit.
They're lucky they put enough distance between the escalator and the robot. Because if I was walking by that thing, I would just be tempted to like stick an elbow out and kind of give it
the old
the
1-2.
people's elbow. Give it the people's elbow.
One nice 1-2 combo there. I like that. All right,
Yeah,
we have talked about the supernatural on this show in the past, and we're going to do it again because I'm just going to play the video and you can react to it. Look at there's the chyron there. National UFO Reporting Center, 38 UFO sightings in Colorado this year. So let me play the video.
2 Red Rocks Amphitheater employees saw some sort of dark metallic disc fly over the sky about a mile from the famous venue. This was on June 5th. It apparently vanished after a few seconds. Of course, none of this has been confirmed by any sort of government organization. There's no pictures, no video, but 2.
There's no pictures, there's no video. Only 2 people saw it. There are some hallucinogenic substances that are legal in Colorado. I'm gonna need more evidence.
I agree. Jordan and I have both been to Red Rocks, as we previously discussed on the show.
Mhm.
First of all, that like overhead helicopter shot is sick because it's like it just shows you that it's like in the middle of the damn mountains. You have to
No,
hike
it's so
there.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
Um,
really get the appreciation for how steep it is though.
mhm.
Like if you stand at the bottom and you look up, it's crazy. If you stand at the top and look down, it's probably also crazy, but like being there and having to climb up all those steps was like, this is going to be a fun experience. And then all of a sudden it was a hike. It was like,
Mhm.
I don't know, but super cool venue. But I'm not surprised. Like if I were an alien, I would want to visit Red Rocks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree. So
Mhm.
show us the evidence, folks. Show us the evidence. All right, we got 10 minutes.
We
left
want to
in the show.
believe. We want to believe. We
Yeah.
want to be like Tom from Blink 182, but I
Yes.
need evidence.
Aliens exist.
Yeah.
Well, we finished up our topics on the dock, so we did that pretty quickly.
That's crazy.
Um,
That might be the first time that we've ever done that.
Yeah, so we still have 10 minutes to chit chat here before we say goodbye. Did you watch any movies this week that we can talk about for Letterboxd Corner?
I want to say I did because I really didn't have anything else to do during the power outage, but I don't remember what it was.
You
let's
did
see.
watch a horror movie.
I did
know,
watch a
during the
scary
power
movie.
outage.
Yeah, I did. I rewatched a horror movie because it was dark. I was like, obviously. Let's see. Here is. Oh yeah, I got a couple things. All right, so I watched. So this happened the night before the power outage, but I watched The Producers, which is the Mel Brooks film from 1967. It's got Gene Wilder in it. It's been I think a couple of times actually a Broadway production. It was funny. It was funny. Gene Wilder is great in it, so if you like him, it's definitely a watch. A little weird, but that's probably just the time, and I think
That's
it would
Mel
have made
Brooks, man.
yeah, it's Mel
That's
Brooks,
Mel Brooks.
and it would have made a slapping Broadway musical. So that was probably it. I watched The Conjuring, which was In the Dark, and I've seen this movie a lot of times, so I almost didn't log it, and it was baffling to me when I went to log it that it came up as coming out in 2013 because time is not real. There's no way that's 11 years old. Like, not at all. Because I vividly remember going to the movie theater with my cousins in Maine and watching this movie for the first time in a theater, it's such a different experience seeing a movie in a theater because the sound is completely around you and it's pitch black, right? So there's no comfort of your own home on your couch with a blanket and your Roku like streaming a movie. It is an unfamiliar environment with a bunch of strangers in the dark and it's loud. So you can't get away, right? So it's a totally different experience watching a horror movie in theaters. It still is good to this day. And I still think about it sometimes, like in the middle of the night at, 3 a.m. because that was like the time in the movie. It was 3:07 or something. And sometimes I'll wake up like in the middle of the night and be like, I don't think I really want to be awake right now because it's almost 3:07. It's scarier when watched in the pitch black during a complete power outage. I gave it 4 stars. And honestly, I think it just didn't score higher because I've seen it so many times. But anyway. And then I also watched, it's sort of the horror genre, Late Night with the Devil, which came out last year. That feels wrong. I feel like that just happened. But either way, last year. It was okay. It was fine. I gave it 3.5 stars. I said, good idea, mediocre execution. It was like I was very intrigued about how they were going to do it. The whole premise is like it's a late night talk show with failing or declining ratings or something, and it's their Halloween episode, and they decide to bring on a bunch of special guests, and they want to make a big splash or whatever. So they have somebody who's like a psychic medium. He's like kind of like Long Island Medium or whatever, where he does the crowd work. And they're all in there and they're, trying to call out and they're like, I'm getting a message from it's like it's an R, or a P, and then they just wait for somebody in the audience to be like, I had a grandma Penelope or something, and they're like, yes, it was Penelope. It's clear now. So they have somebody come in that does that, and then they also have a skeptic, and the skeptic comes in and he just says this guy is, full of it. And then the psychic or the medium receives a very strong message, and then it kind of just like changes the course of the night, where it's like there's, actually like spirits in the building, and then there's this girl who is like involved with a cult, and they think she might be possessed. So they were trying to like channel the possession. And it's a whole thing, but it was, it started out, fun and friendly. It's like, we're just going to improve our ratings and get some shock value on TV. And then all of a sudden it gets, very out of hand very fast. So I expected more, I think, from it, because it was kind of an interesting premise. It wasn't like another of the 30,000, this is an old house and someone died here and it's haunted movies. It was sort of a unique spin. But you could tell where it was going. It was one of those movies where you could tell what the ending was going to be. You're like, there's only one way that this ends up. So, I don't know. Still worth a watch if that's your thing, and if you like the cast in it. So.
I had two movies on the docket this week. You know what's funny I've been finding out lately is I've been going in cycles in terms of, I don't pop all over the board and watch a bunch of different types of movies. I'll like lock in. Like for a bit, I watched a bunch of Hitchcock movies for a bit, and then this week, for whatever reason, I was bored. I was like, well, I need a movie to watch. I was popping around on HBO Max, and I was like, oh, you know what I haven't seen ever is I've seen The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Clint Eastwood. I have not seen the first two parts of that trilogy, so I decided to watch A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More this week, and both are good. Not great like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is. That movie's just one of the maybe the best Western ever made. It's truly that good. And so I watched Fistful of Dollars, gave that one 3.5 stars. It was okay. It was good. It was really well done. The music though, and Ennio Morricone is one of the greatest film composers of all time. I will not hear any arguments about that whatsoever. He's terrific, especially in these three movies, more so than anything else. Fistful of Dollars, 3.5 stars. Ennio Morricone's score made this movie worth watching. A little too shoot 'em up for me. A lot of shoot 'em up going on in that first movie for me, so it wasn't as good. For a few dollars more, I gave it 4 stars, and I said Clint Eastwood was a damn badass back in the day. This one was a lot better than the first one because there's a little bit more like I wouldn't say mystery, but a little bit more it's got this like more a little bit more tense to it, like it's like almost like a little kind of not like quite a thriller aspect in a way, but in a way it's got that kind of more dramatic aspect to it, to where you're not really sure what's going to happen. So it builds this tension up really, really well. And that's something that The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is terrific at, and why that movie is so good is the tension just kind of continues to build until that final showdown. And that's what For a Few Dollars More does as well. And yeah, I if you are interested in Westerns at all, go back and watch those movies. I'd recommend. Bring back the Western.
That's news to me. Yeah, it's news to me that was a trilogy. I had no idea.
I don't think they're like complete sequels after sequels. They're like very loosely tied together. So it's like not the same character, but it's the same character. If you
yeah.
Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. We had my friend Mac and I, when we went to New York, guess that would have been last summer. Yeah. The Airbnb that we stayed at had just like a smart TV or whatever, and only got a handful of channels, but one of the channels just played the old Western TV show Bonanza. I had never seen that, Mac loves Bonanza, and we watched endless episodes of that stupid show like at night when it was like you would come back from doing stuff and we were like, let's just put on Bonanza for a little bit. Just got watching through it, and it was pretty funny. But I could see why that's a thing. Like it was fun to have just like a pure, adventure, like open world, open range adventure show, and they shot a lot of it practically too, where it was like you actually had to learn how to ride a horse or do all of these things physically, whereas nowadays they'd probably use some kind of post-production for it. But crazy.
Yeah, so bring back the Western, folks. We haven't had a great Western movie in a long time, I feel like. So bring it back.
Bring it back for Richie specifically. That's your market.
I love a good Western. It's there's a Kevin Costner Western coming out this summer, which I'm actually interested to check out. It's like a 2-part thing. And it's like supposedly like 6 hours long if you combine the two.
Ooh.
But I'm interested to check that out. I think it's called Horizon.
Okay. I'm like, are we considering
so
some of those new like the television shows like Yellowstone? Like we're not considering that a Western, right? That's just like a drama.
I've never
what's
seen
the other
it.
one? Like 1812. There's like a whole
it's
series
the
about
guy
it.
does
Yeah.
a bunch of the Westerns. Yeah, those count as Westerns, yes, but those are TV shows.
Okay.
I'm talking about
You want a feature film.
bringing back the Western genre as a film.
Spaghetti Western?
You take I guess, yes. Do you know why they call it spaghetti Western, by the way?
I
There's
might
actually a reason
know.
behind this.
It was well, I think I know, but tell our audience just in case, because I don't want to
This
spoil
is cool.
it.
So because that's exactly the Man with No Name trilogy, directed by Sergio Leone. The reason why they call them spaghetti westerns is because all of these movies were made in Italy, and they were all made by mostly Italian filmmakers and crew. And so if you watch them and you pay close attention to these movies, I was reading up about these movies particular, and I didn't actually know this until this week. But what they did is a lot of the actors were from different nationalities, and Sergio Leone did not speak English, so he had to have a translator for Clint Eastwood on set. Number one. And then number two, they shot the movies without any sound. So they had to dub everything afterwards. So they had to redo all of the dialogue. So especially if you watch A Fistful of Dollars, it's really funny and really interesting and kind of threw me off a little bit. But in no way, shape, or form does the English version of the movie match what these characters are saying on screen. Because they're all speaking their like native language, right? When they're saying the dialogue. Anyway, so that's where you get the spaghetti western from, is because a lot of these films at the time were all filmed in Italy and in Europe at the time, and then they were brought over to America. So spaghetti western.
The only reason I think I know that is because somebody brought it up on one of our tours in Europe. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember somebody saying something like that. I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Shooting on location, still a thing.
Yes, shooting on location. All right, well, that's it for the show, everybody. We once again ran over time because we can't shut up.
We're fine because we're going to cut like 3 minutes out on the audio version. We're still good. That counts.
We're good on the audio
Semantics.
version if we go away now. Okay. Follow us at OHOBC Pod, wherever you get your social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. For Jordan, I have been Richie. We will talk to you again after July 4th. Happy July 4th, Independence Day, everybody. May your fireworks go bang, and enjoy the holiday, everybody. Goodbye.